You're burning cash, deadlines are slipping, and investors are losing confidence fast. This isn't about needing more developers. It's about a broken system that's quietly sinking your raise. I've seen founders stuck here, and I've pulled them out. One team fixed their dev process and raised 15% higher in weeks, solely through better systems. If you're heading into Series A or already feeling the pressure, you need to hear this. Let's fix the real problem before it kills your valuation. If you're a seed stage founder gearing up for Series A, or you've already raised and your team's starting to stall, pay attention. You're at the inflection point where operational discipline either multiplies your valuation or quietly destroys it. Here's how you'll know this is hitting close to home. 1, you've built something users want, but scaling it is getting messy. 2nd, missed deadlines stack up, and the roadmap's more fiction than fact. And 3rd, you dread investor meetings because the tech story doesn't match the pitch. Sound familiar? If you're fine explaining all that to investors while your burn climbs and momentum dies, go ahead and click away. But if you know something has to change fast, keep watching. Because every week you stay in this loop, your runway shrinks and your raise gets harder. And Series A investors, they smell this dysfunction in the first 5 minutes. Most founders heading into Series A are quietly bleeding out and don't even realize it. They push harder, hire faster, burn hotter. No matter how many devs they add, output flatlines. Vision grows, but execution stalls. And when the investor meeting finally comes, they're talking features instead of results because they can't tie spin to revenue. That's not just inefficient. That's a red flag. And Series A investors are trained to spot it from the first deck. Here's what the old way really looks like. Scrambling to hit growth goals with no operational backbone. Hoping investors won't dig deep into your mounting tech debt. Prioritizing feature speed over scalability, quality, or ROI. Showing 0 metrics that connect development to business impact. And the cost? Capital vanishes faster than forecast. Momentum stalls after funding. Internal pressure rises, investor expectations rise faster. And the kicker? Your dev process doesn't scale, it snaps. You won't hear this in pitch prep circles, but I'll say it straight. Your burn rate isn't your biggest problem. Your broken process is. But the good news? There's a better way. A system that makes your dev team your biggest asset in the raise, not your silent liability. A way to scale with control, to drive ROI on every sprint, to raise capital like an operator, not a guesser. Let me reveal what inefficient dev processes are actually costing you right now. Invisible money draining from your bank account every single day. While you're listening to this, let me make this painfully concrete with actual numbers from 2 companies just like yours. Your annual investment in engineering talent. For seed company, $500,000. For series company, $2 million. The amount vanishing from your account every month for seed company, that's $41,600. And series company, $166,000. Or per 2-week sprint for seed company, $20,800. And series company, $83,300. In an ideal world, your engineering team completes 16 to 40 tickets per sprint, making each ticket worth $1,300 to $2,000 of your investment. But here's the painful reality you're living with. Your team is operating at just 75% efficiency, and that's being generous for companies at any stage. That impact on tickets completed each sprint, if 16 tickets is your ideal capacity, you're only getting 12. And for an ideal capacity of 40, you're only getting 30. This silently inflates your actual cost per ticket from $1,300 to $1,700. Those 4 to 10 missing tickets per sprint, let's quantify the financial impact. For seed company, that's $5,200. In series company, that's $20,800 in value you paid for but never realized. Over a year, that's $125,000 to $500,000 annually. That's between 1 to 3 additional senior engineers or 3 to 6 months of extended runway. That simply vanishes. Feel those numbers for a moment. $125,000 to $500,000. That's not a projection or a worst case scenario. That's happening right now in your business. But here's what keeps me up at night. That $125,000 to $500,000 is just a visible tip of a much larger, more dangerous iceberg lurking beneath your fundraising journey. This is just a single instance of what a fracture in a nuanced software development process can cost your team. The true catastrophic cost hits your fundraising potential in 3 devastating ways. The first is valuation impact. I've watched this pattern repeat with founder after founder. In my experience, companies demonstrating operational excellence consistently raise their Series A rounds 30 to 45 days faster and face significantly fewer technical due diligence concerns, which can directly impact valuation discussions. Runway leverage. Every single month of runway you preserve through operational efficiency translates directly into negotiating power. When investors sense desperation because your runway is shrinking, your term sheet reflects it painfully. Due diligence protection. The most heartbreaking moments I've witnessed are when founders think they've secured funding, only to have deals crumble during technical due diligence. At the $10 to $15 million fundraising level, investor due diligence becomes exponentially more rigorous. For companies raising or just having raised $10 to $15 million, this difference between good and poor product operations doesn't represent thousands. It represents $3 to $6 million in valuation in terms for seed companies. And for Series A companies, it can mean the difference between hitting milestones for your next round or running out of runway. Addressing these issues can be transformational. 30 to 50% surge in development efficiency within just 12 weeks, 3 to 6 months of additional runway for seed companies, and accelerated milestone achievement for Series A companies. Series A valuation improvements of 20 to 40% and stronger positioning for Series B with optimized operational metrics. The most beautiful part? This investment pays for itself within the first 60 days through direct efficiency improvements alone, before we even factor in the massive fundraising leverage you gain. Whether you're approaching Series A investors or demonstrating results to your existing investors post-funding, operational excellence isn't just preferred. It's a non-negotiable requirement that separates the companies that get funded from those that don't. Ask yourself, can you afford not to capture this hidden $125,000 to $500,000 and transform it into millions in valuation? Series A investors aren't just writing checks anymore. Due diligence has leveled up. And if you can't show operational maturity, you're dead in the water. Here's what they're digging into and what most founders completely miss. Business outcome documentation. Investors don't care about features. They care about traction. They want to see how your roadmap ties directly to real metrics, like new customers, reduced churn, or $100,000 MRR. Founders who waste investor meetings talking platform redesigns instead of revenue milestones, they burn months of runway and walk away empty-handed. Capital efficiency metrics. You'll be asked, what outcomes did your last $250,000 in dev spend create? How predictable is your feature delivery timeline? How does your roadmap drive ARR? If you can't answer in hard numbers, it's a problem. One founder I worked with was turned down by 7 investors. We rebuilt the narrative around business outcomes per dollar. He closed in 3 weeks. Here's the bottom line. Operational execution isn't a nice to have. According to Series A investors I've spoken with, it's now a top deal breaker. If you can't show it, your term sheet suffers. If you can, you raise faster with better terms and walk in with leverage. I've been doing this for 15 plus years, inside Fortune 100 giants and scrappy startups alike. And every time I saw the same thing. No matter the stage, I'd spend the first 90 days doing what should have been in place already, installing systems, aligning product and business, and cleaning up the mess so execution could actually scale. Eventually, I stopped doing it for them and started building it with founders directly. Now I work with seed and Series A SaaS teams to triple the ROI of their software development teams without adding a single headcount. I help them scale fast, scale smart, and raise with confidence. Let me give you a real example. A health tech founder came to me with a powerful mission, serving first responders and military communities through a fitness and wellness platform. Great idea, solid traction, seed funding in place, but 12 to 18 months of runway and no real plan for how to cross the Series A chasm. Their words, I felt like I was speaking French to a dev team that only understood Mandarin. I was nodding in meetings while secretly Googling terms under the table. To move faster, they split work between two teams without a process to coordinate them. The result, when testing finally began, the new UI couldn't store any data. The backend was weeks behind. Meanwhile, 35% of their runway had already burned, and they were stuck in daily technical meetings instead of driving growth. We stepped in and implemented my product operations framework. Here's what changed in just 8 weeks. The health tech company preserved 40% of their remaining runway. Sprint goal achievement jumped by 152%. User acquisition spiked 5x. Their Series A closed at a 15% higher valuation than projected. And they got back 15 plus hours per week to actually lead. And one pricing move we tested generated $735,000 in ARR in 5 months. But the real shift, the transformation wasn't just in our process. It was in me as a founder. For the first time, I walked into investor meetings excited to talk product. One even said our technical governance was the strongest they'd seen from a non-technical CEO. Before I walk you through the solution, let's talk about the 5 mistakes I see founders make over and over again. Each one silently tanking their valuation before the first investor pitch even lands. Mistake number 1, confusing speed with readiness. Just ship it works at MVP stage, but once real money's on the line, that mindset backfires. You move fast, but leave a mess behind. Tech debt piles up. And during due diligence, investors spot it instantly. The real cost, not just a slower delivery, it's a credibility hit that drags down your valuation. Mistake number 2, letting sales drive the roadmap. When your backlog is a wish list from the sales team, instead of a strategy built on validated user needs, you're no longer building a business. You're just chasing noise. Investors can smell it. It screams no product market fit. And worse, no process to get you there. It burns cash and signals chaos. Mistake number 3, throwing bodies at the problem. Dev is behind, so you add more developers. Classic move and a classic mistake. Without the right systems, you're not speeding up. You're creating more overhead, more confusion, and more burn. More engineers without operational clarity is equal to less efficiency and less leverage when you need it the most. Mistake number 4, tracking the wrong metrics. You've got MRR, churn, customer acquisition cost. Great, but what about dev efficiency? Sprint velocity, cost per feature shipped? If you can't link what your team builds to business outcomes, your pitch falls flat and investors start looking elsewhere. Mistake number 5, the founder to dev language barrier. Most founders can sell a vision, but translating that vision into execution, if you're struggling to turn business goals into clear technical requirements, your team spins in circles and you burn time and trust. Worse, investors start wondering if you can scale a team at all. Each of these mistakes erodes investor confidence, burns runway with no return, and builds a kind of operational debt that explodes right when you're trying to raise. The good news? These are all fixable with the right systems. I've spent the last 15 years solving the same problem in every startup I walked into. Dev teams moving fast, but nowhere. Founders overwhelmed. Investors losing faith. So I built a system that fixes it for good. It's called the Scale Ready Product Playbook. This isn't a template. It's not a recycled agile checklist. It's the exact framework I've battle tested inside Fortune 100s, pre-race scrambles, and post-funding meltdowns, designed to turn your development team into a strategic weapon. 3 clear phases. Zero fluff, built to help you scale without breaking, raise without scrambling, and finally get ROI on every sprint. Let me show you how it works. Phase 1 is discover. This is where we find the friction and pull it into the light. If you're a seed stage founder, you've proven demand, but your dev process can't deliver consistent investor grade metrics. If you're post Series A, you've got cash in the bank, but now you're under pressure to move faster and your systems are already straining. Here's what we do. We first unlock insights. We talk to the people closest to the work, founders, dev leads, PMs. We pinpoint the gaps that are silently killing your velocity and your raise. Second is map excellence. We turn the chaos into clarity, visual workflows that expose handoff breakdowns, process bloat, and scaling failures, so you can see exactly what's broken and why. Next, we expose opportunities. Then we zero in on what actually moves the needle, the highest leverage fixes that investors care about and your team can feel fast. One SaaS founder came in wondering why features were shipping 3 times slower than forecasted. We mapped the problem, found 3 key fixes, and cut dev time by 40% in just 4 weeks. The outcome? A clean, confident story for due diligence and a raise that landed ahead of schedule. Phase 2 is analyze. This is where we turn noise into a roadmap. Most founders don't know which operational changes actually impress investors or improve scale, so they guess. Or worse, they try to fix everything. We don't guess. We rank. We sequence. We execute. Here's how. We first measure impact. We score every opportunity across ROI, complexity, and urgency. No more hunches, just data-backed decisions. Next, we prioritize value. You get a ranked tactical plan. What to fix now, what to stage next, and what to ignore. Every step tied to a real business outcome. Next, optimize process. We install the workflows that make everything run smoother, faster, and smarter without breaking your team. One marketplace founder was drowning in 10 competing priorities. We created a step-by-step, score-based roadmap that showed investors a 35% spike in sprint efficiency right before they wired $4.2 million. Phase 3 is transform. This is where we lock it in and build the machine that scales. Founders either burn out trying to hold it all together, or they build a team that can. We make sure you're doing the latter. Here's how. Enable teams. We train your team to own the systems, so you're not the bottleneck. No more heroic founder effort to keep the lights on. Accelerate progress. We run weekly operations sessions to dial in performance, optimize sprints, and keep velocity compounding, even as you grow. Secure results. We install dashboards that tell the right story. Capital efficiency, product momentum, and investor-ready operational metrics. One B2B SaaS founder had burned 40% of their runway with little to show. In 12 weeks, we rebuilt the DevOps engine, connected product work to ARR, and gave them dashboards that turned investor doubt into a 20% higher valuation. You might be wondering, how is this any different from a consultant or a fractional product hire? Here's the blunt truth. Traditional consultants bill by the hour. I measure success by your increased valuation. They hand you decks, I hand you systems. They stick around to stay on payroll. I build things that replace me. Consultants chase scope creep. I build independence. I don't create reliance. I build repeatable operational frameworks your team can run without me. You won't need a retainer, you'll need a raise. Fractional leaders, helpful, but another bottleneck. They make decisions for your team. I build systems that empower your team to lead without you or me. And while they focus on shipping roadmap items, I focus on fixing what actually gets you funding. Operational readiness and scale integrity. Here's what we actually do differently. We're product operations, not just strategy. We don't just plan, we operationalize. We install the foundation that makes your strategy executable at scale. You're meant to fire us. Our system is designed to make us obsolete, fast. You hire us to solve a problem, not to stay forever. That's the point. We're built for Series A. This isn't some generalized framework. It's engineered specifically to create the systems and metrics Series A investors look for first during due diligence. We empower founders, not just teams. You don't need to code, but you do need to lead. We give you the language, structure, and confidence to talk tech with investors in your team without Googling terms under the table. We build systems, not advice. I don't show up with a whiteboard and walk away. I work alongside your team to hardwire new behaviors, dashboards, and workflows that scale without you having to micromanage them. This isn't theory. This is a system I built after 15 years of living in the weeds as an in-house PM, a fractional product leader, and a product ops builder. I've seen what works, what breaks, and what investors really care about. What you get isn't a consultant. You get a repeatable infrastructure that becomes the backbone of your Series A story. And the reason investors say yes. Let's be real. If you're still watching, you're probably nodding along and thinking, okay, but here are the 4 objections I hear most and why they don't hold up under pressure. We'll fix this after we raise. That logic kills more deals than anything else. Series A investors don't fund potential. They fund proof. And that proof includes operational discipline. If your plan is to duct tape your dev process and clean it up after the raise, think again. That's exactly what they're evaluating right now in diligence. One founder I worked with learned this the hard way. Term sheet pulled, no time left to rebuild. They scraped together a bridge round that diluted them an extra 15% just to stay alive. Now compare that to another founder who implemented my playbook. Same stage, same market. One investor told them, your team and operational systems were the deciding factor. You were the only team we trusted to scale. Our team already uses Agile. Great. And most people say they eat healthy. Agile is only as good as your execution. Stand-ups and sprints mean nothing if you're not delivering consistent, measurable results. Investors aren't impressed by buzzwords. They want to know you can hit milestones without missing a beat. This isn't about what you call your process, it's about what it produces. We'll just hire a VP of engineering or a product lead. Hiring leadership is valuable, but it's not a magic fix. Here's why. It takes 3 to 6 months to fill the role. Your runway doesn't wait. Even top-tier hires need solid systems to operate at their best. One client brought in a FANG caliber VP, still missed delivery dates because the ops were broken underneath. And let's not forget, leadership adds permanent burn. My system installs the operational muscle that makes your next hire 10 times more effective and gets you results before they even start. This feels expensive when we're trying to conserve cash. Totally get it. So let's do the math. Most teams I work with see a 3 to 5x ROI within 90 days before the raise. One client calculated $4.20 for every $1 invested, just in development efficiency gains. Now layer in what happens at the fundraising table. Even a modest 15 to 35% bump in valuation on a $3 to $5 million Series A, that's an extra $450,000 to $1.75 million in play. So the real question isn't, can we afford this? It's, What's the cost of not fixing this now? Look, if you've built companies before or spent 15 plus years leading in your industry, you already know. Operational discipline is the difference between scaling and stalling. Between seed and Series A, there's a tight window. Either you install the systems that multiply valuation, or you run out of room before you even hit your next raise. I've spent the last 15 years inside that window, optimizing product operations, fixing what's broken, and turning chaos into capital. And here's how we start. By application only, because this isn't a course or a coaching call, it's hands-on, founder-first implementation. I only take 5 companies at a time. That's how we get results that actually hold up in front of investors. Here's what really happens in a scale readiness assessment. We'll pinpoint exactly where your dev process is leaking cash, time, and credibility. You'll see how your team stacks up against top-performing Series A startups based on real metrics investors care about. We'll build a tactical roadmap, not theory, built to deliver measurable results fast. When you schedule and complete the call, I'll also hand over my full operational toolkit. The scale-ready product framework, battle-tested systems from 15 years in the trenches. The investor-ready metrics framework package, what $10 to $15 million level investors are actually looking for. And the Founder's Guide to Technical Requirements book. Lead tech teams with clarity, even if you don't write code. And here's my promise. If your team isn't hitting at least 80% sprint completion within 60 days, I keep working with you until they are. No extra cost, no excuses. This assessment is built for you if you're an experienced founder or industry leader running a seed or Series A SaaS company. You've either just raised or are preparing to raise $5 to $15 million in the next 6 to 12 months. You're tired of the duct tape, the missed sprints, and the dev chaos, and you're ready to lead like an operator who gets results. A final word from one operator to another. At this stage, systems beat hustle every time. You don't need to work harder. You need the infrastructure investors already expect to see. Let's make sure when you walk into that next raise, you do it with numbers, confidence, and control. Let's build something that works.